Good evening, students. Welcome to the first class of LVC of CA Final Paper 3, Advanced Auditing, Assurance and Professional Ethics. Right? I think you all were waiting for this session, and today is the day when we are commencing on 18th of September. And of course, I hope you all are aware because these classes are for May 25 examination. So you must be ready and you have gone through your syllabus that how many chapters are there in your syllabus, what is the section wise weightage applicable for your paper, what is the skill wise weightage applicable for your paper. And today we are commencing the classes with very important section, that is section 5, professional ethics and liabilities of auditors. Students, you all are our future aspiring chartered accountants. Yeah, you all are future chartered accountants. So after becoming chartered accountants, you are the hero of our profession, right? You are representing our profession. So it is very important that you are aware that after becoming chartered accountant, do's and don'ts. What are the threats? What are the safeguards? Which the Chartered Accountant Act 1949 and regulations there too will be governing. And you should be aware that which are the clauses. If you are not following the same, you will be held guilty for professional misconduct or other misconduct, right? So all these will be covered in today's session. And today we are going to cover the last chapter 19, last but not least, because it's very important, and weightage for the same is 17% to 24%, right? And it's really very interesting. So students, from today, we are starting with a new feature. Today, we are having a learned and eminent faculty among us, CA Harshad Tekwani. Okay, and he'll be taking this session, and you all are aware of him because he has taken session previously also, right? But in each and every class or in each and every session, we try to incorporate some new features, right? And for today's session, from today onward, we are trying to explain you the concepts with the help of small stories so that you can retain. Because when we are when you're a small kid, our parents used to tell us about, if they want to explain us, they want to tell us, they will, like, if they just give lecture, it's not, actually it's not retained in our mind. So when it is being explained with the help of a story or with examples, it is its retention is more, right? So from this batch, which is specifically for May 25 examination, we are trying to explain the concepts, explain the threads with the help of small animation based stories, which will be Harshad sir will be covering. So not taking much of the time, just a brief intro about Harshad Tekwani sir. He's a chartered accountant and lawyer with more than 12 years of experience. He's also having degree of CFP, and today he'll be telling you the most important chapter. I am not telling that this is the only important chapter. This is not, all the chapters are very important because we are starting with the maximum weightage of the chapter. And its weightage is 20 marks to 27 marks. So this chapter, and if you have visited our web BS knowledge portal, or if you have seen our chapter in the study material, you might have observed that not only we are covering some important sections, as well as we are covering disciplinary mechanism, both the schedules, first schedule and second schedule. In first schedule, it's 4 parts and number of clauses. In second schedule, it's parts and its number of clauses, right? And sir will be explaining you about how to retain and how to understand the clauses. And when we are writing in the examination, it is very important that you read the situation very carefully, right? Read the situation very carefully and interlink it with the same. And when you are writing in your examination, apart from the clause number, part number, and schedule number of the CA Act, you need to give its explanation, you need to interlink it, and you need to conclude it. So with this way, you have to write, right? So not taking much of the time, I am introducing the faculty for the day, faculty for the session on professional ethics and liabilities of auditor. That is our section 5, because our syllabus is divided into total 5 sections. In section 1, we are covering engagement and quality control standards. And as you all are aware that in the new scheme, we are covering all 46 standards, including SQC1, then our SA 200 to SA 800 series, SAEs, SREs, and SRSs, right? So all the standards are covered, and these are covered in your study material as chapter 1 to chapter 11. Much detail will be shared by Harshad sir. And if you have any doubt, any clarification you require, you can definitely ask. I'll be there to answer you. Then we move towards section 2. It is digital auditing and assurance chapter, right? Weightage for the same is 4% to 6%. In chapter 3, we are having 5 chapters. Group audit, overview of PSU, then your audit of bank and NBFC, then due diligence, investigation and forensic audit, and internal audit, right? So these are the 5 chapters which are covered in form of section 3. And in section 4, again, we are having only 1 chapter, weightage is 4 to 6%. It's ESG audit. Notes, because these are the sessions wherein the faculty will be explaining the concept in much detail. So if you have prepared your audit documentation, if you have prepared your own notes, and after covering this 3 hours lecture, if you are doing writing practice, that yes, what was the coverage in the session and what was taught by the Harshad sir, and if you have revised the same, and those part, if you refer the study material and try to write 2 to 3 questions and analyze that whether you are writing in the correct direction, definitely, I promise you, you will be able to get very, very good marks, right? So please be attentive in the class, right? Prepare your own notes, because that will help you in revision, okay? And important points which are being explained by Harshad sir, you need to note down the same for your revision purpose. And then thereafter, when you are doing writing practice, please analyze and check whether you are writing in correct manner, whether you are writing complete answer. In case you find any difficulty, in next section, you can bring your doubts, you can discuss the same, and so on. We'll be covering the chapter. For the strategy, you can do, like, after understanding the clauses, you need to understand, you need to learn by heart that yes, clause 1 talks about what, clause 2 talks about what. So it should be on your tips, because if you are preparing your own notes and if you are studying on regular basis, then only you'll be able to retain the same. So revision is also very, very important. First, in-depth study, and second is revision, right? So with this, over to you, Harshad sir. And in case if you have any doubt, you can write in the chat to Harshad sir. And in between, like after completion of a concept, he will take your doubts as well. Okay. So with this, wish you all the very best. And remember one thing, your feedback is very, very important. So we'll wait for your feedback as well. Okay. Over to you, Harshad sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Good morning, students and aspiring CA chartered accountants, and a warm welcome to the first session of the live virtual class for the CA final May 2025 attempt. Okay, I am Harshad Tekwani. I will be having the privilege of guiding you through the exciting and the crucial subject of advanced audit assurance and professional ethics. That's the paper 3. Now, understand one thing from the day from today, that this is not a hurdle. This subject is not a hurdle. This is a backbone of our profession. This compasses that, the direction that our ethical conduct, the way we need to audit, the way we need to move ahead. So as a future auditors and advisors, this subject and understanding of this subject is must. So don't think this is as an hurdle and, very difficult subject. No, it's absolutely conceptual based And once you understand why the logic, you will be able to apply those logics and you will be able to understand the concepts very easily. Trust me. Okay. So without wasting further time, let's start the understanding of the paper 3, the structure, how it is there. Okay. Now, paper 3 is divided in 3 modules. Okay, you might have received the study material, and it is divided in 3 modules. So module 1 covers chapter 1 to 7, which is chapter 1 is quality control covering SA 220 SQC1, chapter 2 general auditing principles and auditor's responsibility, again SA 200 series we will be discussing. Chapter 3 will cover audit planning, strategy and execution. So we will discuss about audit plans and strategy, detailed audit planning. Then chapter 4 on materiality, risk assessment, internal controls. Chapter 5 is on audit evidence, like SA 500 series you can consider. Chapter 6 will be on audit completion and review, that is SA 560 and 575-80. And chapter 7 will be on reporting part. That's the SA 700 series altogether. So that is all in module 1. Then there is a module 2. Module 2 is quite new, you can say, for you. You might have seen for the first time. For example, specialized area, chapter 8, which is SA 800 series. Chapter 9, audit related services, that is SRS. So here we will be, not going into the depth of SA 800 SRS, but we will be having an overview and, basic understanding of these standards. Chapter 10, review of financial information, that is SRE 2400 and 2410. Then chapter 11 will be prospective financial information, that is SAE series. Chapter 12, digital auditing and assurance. Chapter 13 is a group audit. And chapter 14 is a audit of banks and PSU. And the third module, which is there, is chapter 15 to chapter 19. This contains audit of PSU, internal audit, due diligence, investigation, forensic, emerging areas like ESG, SGD, and the last but not the least, chapter 19, which is a professional ethics. So this is how the study material is made up of 3 modules. However, when it comes to the weightage wise, okay, so they are divided into 5 sections. Section 1 covers the chapter 1 to 11. Basically, it covers the chapters which are there in your module 1 and some chapters from your module 2. And they all together carry almost, near to, you can say, 45 to 55% of the weightage from the marks point of view. Okay, so 11 chapters, 45 to 55% of marks. Then comes the section 2, which is chapter number 12 only. So section 2 is only chapter number 12. This is digital assurance and auditing, which covers 3 to 6% of the weightage of marks. Chapter 3, or section 3, contains chapter number 13 to 17. 13 to 17, rest of the chapters which are there, and that covers the 17 to 20% of the weightage of the marks. Section 4 is only one chapter, which is ESG related. It covers again 3 to 6% of the marks. And section number 5, which is chapter 19, again a section which contains only one chapter but has a 17 to 24% of weightage. So you can figure it out, okay, how many chapters are there in a particular section and what is the weightage in that particular section. Okay. Now you people might have a question that, that all the essays covered in paper 3, even when they are not part of the study material or study module. Answer is yes, they are covered. Okay. Questions can be asked on any of the essay if they are linked, like which you have already learned in the intermediate. So questions can be asked on that also. However, there is a list given in the module 3 at the last, that is the auditing pronouncement. Over there, you will find all the auditing pronouncements that are applicable, means all the essays, all the engagement and quality control standards. Second question that students have is, are we required to remember the essay number, section number, name, clause, or clause number, or schedule number in professional ethics to write in the exam? Answer is yes, you are expected to remember. You are expected to write the section, clause, essay name, number with the provision when you are writing in an exam, okay, for an question. Now, over there, you are expected to write and you are expected to quote the relevant provision also. We will learn how to write an answer. What are the key things that we should have in our answer? That is must. Okay. So we will learn that throughout the sessions, throughout the lecture. But just to give an overview, yes, it is required. I hope I am clear till now. If you have any doubts, if you have any questions, you can write down in the chat. I will be taking up immediately. And if something related not to the current session, I may take up at the end of the lecture. But please ask the doubt, whichever you have. Don't think that it's a silly doubt. It's small doubt. I shouldn't ask. No, even a small doubt is a doubt, and you should ask it, and it's important. Okay, great. So the next thing that I want to discuss is chapter 19 that we are going to start today. That is professional ethics and the liabilities of the auditor. Now, chapter 19, how it is structured and why it is important. Okay, I'll give you a small example. Let's say tomorrow you are going to start an audit. Okay, tomorrow you cleared your CA exam, you become a chartered accountant. Now you are going to start the audit. Before starting the audit, first you have to register yourself as a member. Second, you need to obtain COP. Third, you should know what is requirement with respect to the Council General guidelines. What I am required to do, what I'm not required to do. Even before starting the audit, there are certain things that you are required to be aware of. Till the time you don't have a COP, how will you start your audit? So for all these things, professional ethics is something, the backbone of our profession. So ethics is something, which distinguish a profession from the others. And if I summarize the term ethics, it's something, what should be done or what is correct to do. So professional ethics, not only the code of ethics, but other requirements of the Chartered Accountants Act 1949, Council General guidelines, all things we will be discussing in this particular chapter. And it's very important. Okay. So Abrakesh, no, as you've seen, as of now, I have discussed the syllabus. It is not part of that. Okay. So it may come indirectly through, audit of PSUs. It may have some linkage over there, but not directly. Okay. Now let's start with the first section of professional ethics. So remember, we have a code of ethics, we have a Chartered Accountants Act to discuss, schedules to the Act, Council General guidelines, and the misconduct, disciplinary directorate, board of discipline, and the disciplinary committee. Out of that, first we will start with the code of ethics. That's a basic, the fundamental principles of the ethics, and the fundamental principles for our profession. Okay. Now, how the code of ethics is structured and why we are required to understand that. See, once you will understand how the code of ethics is structured, you will be able to understand, okay, whether this is applicable to me, whether this is not applicable to me. When I say this is applicable to me, means whether this is applicable to a professional accountant in public practice. Not every one of us, after becoming a CA, may start their own practice. May obtain a COP. Some of us may choose to go for a job, for employment. Okay. Some of us may decide to do something else other than the employment, other than the practice. That is perfectly fine. These are the options available to us. So in that case, first we need to understand what part of code of ethics is applicable to me as an professional accountant in employment or in service, professional accountant in public practice, that is, practicing having COP, or in general applicable to all professional accountants, whether they are in the public practice, in service, or doing something else. Okay. Once you are the member, code of ethics is applicable to you. Once you are a chartered accountant, code of ethics is applicable to you. Okay. So for that, we need to understand which part, what are requirements that is applicable to me, accordingly, what I am doing after becoming a CA. Okay. Any doubt? Okay. So that now code of ethics is divided in 4 sections. Code of ethics is divided in 4 sections. Section number 1 or part number 1, which is the complying with the fundamental principles, okay, complying with the code, conceptual framework, which is applicable to all professional accountants, all. So this is applicable to all professional accountants, okay. Irrespective whether you are in practice, you are in service, it is applicable to you. You are a chartered accountant, part 1 is applicable to you. Now, second part talks about professional accountant in service. So these are the guidelines which are applicable to the professional accountants which are in service, okay, in various sectors, in commerce, public service, education, NGOs, or regulatory bodies. So for them, the second part is applicable. The third part is part 3, which is applicable to professional accountant in public practice. Okay, professional accountant in public practice. Now this stands out the requirements with respect to even no clerk, okay, what they are required to do, what they are should maintain, all those things. Then comes the part 4. Part 4 is divided again in 2 sections, 4A and 4B. 4A talks about independence with respect to audit and review engagement. So independence requirement for audit and review engagements. Okay. So if it is an audit or a review engagement, then what type of independence, at what level I am required to maintain the independence? What are the requirements pertaining to the independence? That is there in 4A. But when it comes to 4B, it is assurance engagements other than the audit and review engagement. So again, independence requirement for assurance engagement other than the audit and review engagement. So 4 parts basically, and 4th is divided in 2 sections. So total 5. Part 1, applicable to all professional accountants. Part 2, professional accountant in service. Part 3, professional accountant in public practice. Part 4, independence for audit and review engagements. And part 4B is independence for assurance engagement other than audit and review. This is how it is segregated or bifurcated. Okay. Now, let's go to the next part. Okay. So when I talk about part 1, that is the fundamental principles. Okay. Fundamental principles talks about 5 important fundamental principles that are there in our code of ethics. Very important 5 fundamental principles. Okay. That is integrity, objectivity, professional competency and due care, confidentiality, and professional behavior. So fundamental principles are covered in subsection 110. Okay. Subsection 110 is a part, or you can say fundamental principles, where it is covered in our code of ethics. Now over there, the first fundamental principle which is there is subsection 111 is the integrity. Okay, 3 times 1, or you can say I also 3 times I am required to maintain integrity. Okay, this is the way I usually learn. I am required to maintain integrity. So 111 is about integrity. Now what is integrity? Integrity is that when I am required to be straightforward, honest in all my professional and business relationships. I have to be fair in my dealing. That is integrity. For example, if someone from client sides ask me something, okay, let's say they ask for my advice with respect to a particular part or particular section in the audit. At that point in time, the integrity is that I provide them the details, or I provide them the information which is straightforward, honest, not sugar coated. For example, there is a very big misstatement you have identified in your audit. Okay, so let's say you identified a kind of misstatement which is very big, and if it is being corrected by the management, then their profit situation will convert into a loss situation. Now, if management comes to you and asks that, okay, how big the misstatement is, okay, how crucial or how critical the misstatement is, don't sugarcoat. Okay, it is small, it will go away, we'll see something. No, don't sugarcoat. Honest in your all professional and business relationship. Be straightforward. No, it's a big, it is something which requires immediate attention. Please rectify. Okay. So that is the being that is something, maintaining integrity, being straightforward, straight. Then comes the second fundamental principle, which is objectivity. Now, what is objectivity? Objectivity is something, our judgment is not biased. Whatever we are, taking the decision, whatever we are deciding as a professional judgment, it is not biased. It is not based on any of the interest that we have, like, not affected by conflict of interest or undue influence. We will see one classic example, a story also on this particular part, objectivity, okay, to understand further. So as ma'am correctly said in start that, we will be presenting small stories so that you can remember the scenarios, you can remember the, particular topic or the concept easily. So we will take one on objectivity that is there and the threat. Okay. So as of now, understand objectivity is something when your decision making is not based on anything. It is free, it is independent, it is not biased, or it is not affected by the conflict of interest. Okay. Clear? Any doubt? Any doubt? Okay. Indu, I think if that is the case, like if you are not getting my voice, I'll request you to check the settings on your system once, because I have not, not have a similar complaint from other students. So might be a problem on your system. Can you please check once? Okay. Let's continue. Then the third fundamental principle which is there is professional competency and due care. Now, what is professional competency and due care? Professional competency and due care is kind of, acting diligently and in accordance with the by technical and professional standards. Okay, so that is something your professional competency and due care. Okay, so when I am required to act diligently, or when I am required to take my decisions based on the updated technical and professional standards, when I'm required to maintain myself updated, that is professional competency and due care. So it's not like, okay, now I'm a chartered accountant, I know everything, I'm not required to read anything. No, it's not like that. A professional accountant should comply always with the professional competency and due care fundamental principle. Means even after attaining your CA degree, you are required to maintain professional knowledge and skill at the level that is required to ensure that, whenever you are dealing with any of the client, whenever you are, providing any service to any of your client, okay, that is something, at the level that is expected from you, highest standard that is known as you are able to provide the information which is, required as per the technical and professional standards. Are you getting my point? So that is professional competency and the due care. And these are not only applicable to professional accountants in public practice, it is also applicable to the professional accountant in service. Means when you are employed by an organization, when you are in employment, at that time also, when you are making decisions, when you are, exercising your professional judgment, you are required to exercise your professional knowledge and updated professional knowledge and skill which is required from you based on this fundamental principle. Okay. So that is professional competency and the due care. Subsection 114, the fourth fundamental principle is confidentiality. The name itself is sufficient to explain what is required under this fundamental principle. Confidentiality, that is, we should respect, we should uphold the confidentiality of the information that we have received, okay, as a professional accountant, like whether in the public practice or in service, as a part of audit engagement, as a part of any other engagement, or as a part of employment. So you are required to maintain confidentiality. Okay. Then comes the next, okay, and the fifth fundamental principle, which is professional behavior. So professional behavior is nothing but where the principal is required to comply with the relevant laws, regulations, okay, to avoid any of the act which is against the law. Means we have to act in accordance with the law. That is very simple. Let's say, for example, the Chartered Accountant Act says that you are not required to use any other designation when you are using a designation of a CA or Chartered Accountant. So complying with that law is a professional behavior. Okay. So whenever we are required to comply with a law, whenever we are required to follow a law, and if we follow that, means we are upholding the fundamental principle of professional behavior, wherein we are required to comply with the laws that are applicable to us and that are relevant to us. I hope I'm clear. So these are the fundamental principles. Any doubt till now? Any doubt? Nope. Okay. So let's move to the next part. Now, once we understood the fundamental principles, we need to understand there could be threat to the fundamental principle. Okay. Let's take a step back. Okay. Now, can anyone tell me the types of the threat that are there to the fundamental principles? Which type of threats can be there? Can anyone tell me the type of the threats that are there to the fundamental principles and that can be there to the fundamental principles? Anyone? Okay, Nisha. But the type, correct, Divya, very good. Yes. One is a self-interest threat. What else? Social pressure, personal gain, yes. Known audit to be done. Yes, it's a type, but there is a name for that particular type, yes. Self-review threat, very good, yes. Advocacy threat, amazing, yes. Familiarity, correct, very good. Familiarity test, yes. What else? There is one more. Moral tribute, okay. Yeah. Intimidation threat. So you have covered, everyone has covered all the threats. So there are certain type of threats, basically 5 type of threats. Self-interest threat, that is, I have an interest and my professional judgment will be biased based on this. And when I say threat to the fundamental principle, means my decision making will be based on conflict of interest. Okay, objectivity will not be there. Self-interest threat. Self-review threat. I am reviewing my own work. So in that case, again, there are chances that my objectivity will be impaired, or I may not take the decision. Okay, I may not comply with the law. So could be a professional behavior, or other impact to other fundamental principles. Advocacy threat. What is advocacy threat? A threat that, as a professional accountant, I am promoting a client or client's organization because I am in such a position that I have to promote. Okay, so it's kind of I will promote a client's organization because, let's say, for example, I am handling a litigation case for them, and in litigations, I have to somehow save my client. Okay, I need to show that, okay, what my client is doing is correct, something like that, similar. Okay, in that case, there is a chance of the advocacy threat that, okay, I may promote a client, I may promote, he might not doing be correct, but still I'm promoting him. So advocacy threat could be there. Similarity threat, for example, he's my relative and I'm doing an audit, so there are close relationships, and as a result, I may not take appropriate professional judgments. And intimidation threat. Intimidation threat is kind of undue influence or pressure that is created upon you so that you cannot take appropriate decisions. So these are the threats which can be there. Okay, now let's understand this particular scenario with one classic example and a small story that is there. Okay, we'll understand with one example. So how the example is, there is a conversation happening between an auditor and a client. Okay, and they are discussing about something. We'll see what they are discussing and what should be the end and what he should do. Okay, so there is a guy, John, who is the auditor, and he is doing audit of a particular company. So he has reached out to a Sarah. She is a finance manager, and they are discussing something. Now let's see what they are discussing. So John says, Sarah, thanks for coming in. I know it's short notice, but there is something we need to discuss regarding the audit. So Sarah says, of course, John, what's the matter? John says, we have identified material misstatement in your financial statement. It's significant enough that it would overstate the net income if not corrected. Means you are showing additional profit. Okay, and it is required to be corrected. It is material misstatement. Now Sarah says, overstate, how much we are talking about? So she's asking the quantum, like what is the amount here? John says it's substantial, and Sarah, I can't give you the exact figure right now, but it is material enough to warrant the disclosure and the correction. Means it is something very big. We are calculating the impact, but as of now, we are just also intimating you that there is something, some development on this side. Okay. So Sarah says, John, you know that how important our stock price is. This could tank it, or means the stock price might decrease and my compensation is tied to our performance. That is stock price. So she's kind of trying to say that, okay, it will impact our stock price and her compensation, and how it is important if we should not disclose this particular information. So John says, I understand your concern, but we have a professional responsibility to report this. Now, Sarah says that, John, we've been working together for years. You know how important our company is to your firm. We are one of your biggest clients. Can anyone tell me where she is leading? What type of threat she is trying to give? Now, can anyone tell me what type of, what type of situation she is trying to create? Correct, Nisha? Yes. Anyone else? Yes, self-interest. Very good. Yes, familiarity. Intimidation. See, In a particular situation, it is not necessary that only one thread will apply. It can be a combination also. That's the beauty of the threads. You know, 2 or 3 threads can be together. So she is trying to intimidate John, and she's trying to create, a kind of environment where she's, making him feel that, okay, the company is the biggest client of his firm and he should do in favor of company. Kind of advocacy thread also. Now, John says, I do, Sarah, but she interrupts and says, come on, John, we can find a way to work this out. Maybe we can adjust some estimate to reclassify some items. Now, again, she's trying to intimidate and she's trying to influence the decision making of the auditor. Okay. John says, Sarah, I can't just ignore a material misstatement. It's not about the rules. It is about integrity. Fundamental principle that is there, the integrity. Sarah says, integrity, what about our relationship with the firm? What about all the business we bring to your firm? Now, again, she's trying to create a pressure, intimidation. Okay. So in this scenario, you can see how there is a threat to the fundamental principles. John went with particular one misstatement, material misstatement, which requires attention, which requires rectification. But on the other hand, Sarah is trying to kind of create a situation where she's creating a threat to the fundamental principle. In this scenario, what should be the correct approach? Can anyone tell me the correct approach in this particular scenario? What should be done? Anyone? Auditor should convince the client. Yes. Material misstatement should be corrected. Yes. Protect the threat. If not possible, withdraw from the engagement. Do what is required under the law. Very good. Yes. Need to explain the future consequence. Very good, guys. So if you see what we are trying to do, if you see your answers, we are trying to remove the threat. We are trying to address the threat. And this is how the process is. First, we need to identify the threat to the compliance with the fundamental principle. Okay, there is a threat. She is trying to create a threat to the fundamental principle that is there. Second, evaluate the threat, how much critical it is. Let's say, for example, if she is a finance manager, threat is at a lower level because, she cannot intimidate or she cannot, create a pressure because she is not at that position. But what if she is the CFO, CEO of the company, owner of the or director of the company? In that case, she might be able to create that kind of pressure. Or she has very good ties with the partner. In that case, you need to evaluate the threat that is identified. Understand how much critical it is, how much deep and impactful it is. And then address the threat by eliminating or reducing them to an acceptable level. What is acceptable level? Now, usually when I talk about acceptable level, okay, there are 2 ways to understand. So when I'm addressing the threat or bringing it to an acceptable level, okay, so I can identify what is an acceptable level through third-party reasonableness test. Now, what is this? What is this third-party test? Now, when I talk about third-party test or reasonable and informed third-party test, basically, what it says that the reasonable and informed third-party test is a consideration by the professional accountant. I am a professional accountant. It's a consideration by me whether the same conclusions would have been reached by any other party if he would have been in same scenario. For example, instead of me as a professional accountant, if there is a third party, okay, who is a professional accountant also, And if we would have reached on the same conclusions in this particular scenario, that okay, this is acceptable, in that case, that would be a reasonable and informed third party test. Okay. So I can use reasonable and informed third party test to bring or to address the threats at a acceptable level. Any doubts till now? Any doubts? So this is how we are required to do the threat evaluation, threat measurement, or kind of identification and threat addressing. This is the way we are required to maintain the threat or address the threat rather. I hope I'm clear. Threat is not the actual misstatement. Understand one thing. Threat is not the actual misstatement which is there in the financial, but threat is a situation which is created by the client. Kind of, the situation wherein they are forcing you to take another decision, where they are forcing you to not comply with the fundamental principle. Are you getting my point? So threat is kind of the situation which is created by the client, not the misstatement itself. Okay. So let's see one more question on this. Okay. So this is the question that Mr. Q, signing partner at the ABC and Associate, was responsible for the statutory auditor of EMEA Limited, a company involved in the manufacturing of motor vehicles and automotive spare parts. Mr. Q did not have any prior experience of the auditing the companies which were involved in the manufacturing of motor vehicles and automotive spare parts. During the audit, the audit team identified that the company is paying excessive price for raw material like steel, iron, compared to prices on London Metal Exchange. Okay. So usually what happens is in a manufacturing industry, the price of the raw material are somewhat linked to the prices of the metal that are quoted on the either in any of the metal exchange. Usually internationally, London Metal Exchange is followed to monitor the prices of the raw material and those metals. Okay. So they were paying excessive price of raw material like steel and iron compared to the prices on the London Metal Exchange. Now this resulted in increase of manufacturing cost. When Mr. Q took up these matters with the management for discussion, management pressured Mr. Q to agree with their weight. Okay. Like management pressured Mr. Q that please you agree what we are doing. We are doing correct. Management also claimed that Mr. Q is new to the sector and management has hired experienced buyers and brokers who are broking the best price of these metals for the company. Means management is trying to create a scenario where they are saying, okay, Mr. Q, you are incorrect. We are more experienced than you. So please agree what we are doing. Mr. Q hired a professional expert in the subject matter, and the auditor's expert opinion was in line with Mr. Q, with the auditor. So the auditor's expert opinion was also in line with the auditor's opinion that there is something wrong. They are paying higher price. When Mr. Q presented the auditor's expert opinion, management threatened Mr. Q with the removal from the engagement and to change the statutory auditor. Means when they presented the view of an expert opinion, management tried to threaten the Mr. Q, who is the auditor, that we will remove you from the audit. In light of the above scenario, kindly evaluate whether Mr. Q is facing any circumstances that may create a threat to compliance with fundamental principles. So you have an option A, B, C, D. Just go through the options and let me know if there is any circumstance that is, can be called as a threat to compliance with fundamental principle. Okay, Nisha. Okay, Abrakesh. Very good. Very good, Vidyasari. Yes. Okay, Darshan. Come on, guys. Try to answer. Don't think of the correct or incorrect answer. Whatever you understand, whatever your understanding is, try to answer from that understanding. Don't worry whether it's a correct or not. Reason because by this way we will be understanding what is the correct answer, and once you will answer, you will understand, okay, I answered this based on this understanding, but based on this understanding, this is the correct answer, or my understanding was correct or not. So you will learn how to give correct answer. So don't worry on that. Just answer whatever you think. Okay, Kaushika. Okay, good, Prasuna. Very good. Come on, guys. Anyone else? Yes, Priyanka. Very good. Yes. Yes, Divya. Very good. Okay. So what was the option A? That yes, Mr. Q is facing intimidation threat. B was advocacy threat. C was similarity threat, and D was there was no threat. So we can directly say by seeing the question, yes, D is the incorrect answer. Now, C, familiarity. There is no close relationship that is appearing in the question. That's why I can also conclude that the C is not an answer. Now, answer can be A or B, advocacy or intimidation threat. So the correct answer is yes, Mr. Q is facing an intimidation threat, not the advocacy. Advocacy is where we promote the client. Here, what is the scenario is the client is threatening us. Okay, you do this, otherwise we'll remove you from the audit. That is an intimidation threat. Very good, Divya. Yes. So option A is the correct one. I hope everyone understood that. Any doubts? Any questions? Any doubts? No. Okay. Let us see one more question. Now, in continuation of this particular example only, what Mr. Q should do when a threat to compliance is identified. Also suggest some safeguard to mitigate the above threat to compliance with the fundamental principle. Now, what Mr. Q should do? You need to select one option from the given options. Have a read of the options, take 2 minutes and try to answer. Come on, guys. So, what Mr. Q should do when a threat to the compliance is identified? Okay, good Prasanna, good Nisha. Okay, Divyasri, very good. Come on, guys, try to answer. Try to, select one option based on your understanding. Don't worry about the correct answer. We will learn why and which answer is correct. Okay, Abrakesh. Okay, let us see the options now. Option number 1, which is option A, which talks about if a professional accountant determines that the identified threat to the compliance with the fundamental principle are at an acceptable level, the accountant shall address the threat by eliminating them or increasing them to an above acceptable level. Now, if you see in this particular option, what they are saying is, if they identified threat to the compliance with the fundamental principle, then they should address the threat by eliminating them, okay, or increasing them to above the acceptable level. Increasing them. My role is to decrease them. This option is incorrect. I'm not required to increase. Okay. Now, let's talk about the last one, D first. If management determines that the identified threat to the compliance with the fundamental principles of the auditor are not at an acceptable level, the management shall address the threat by eliminating the auditor from the assignment. No, we should not eliminate the auditor from the assignment. It is not required. Means we need to bring the threat down, not the auditor. Okay, so that's why it is also wrong. C, again, if you see that option number C, that if there is a threat to compliance with the fundamental principles, the auditor which is not at the acceptable level, management shall address the threat by eliminating them or reducing them to an acceptable level. Okay. And understand, if management determines that there is an identified threat to compliance with the fundamental principle, they should bring the threat and eliminate the threat and reduce them to an acceptable level. Even B is the same. Can anyone tell me what is the difference between B and C? Like here also we are saying address the threat by eliminating them to and reducing them to an acceptable level. In both of the scenario, we are saying, okay, we need to eliminate them and reduce them to an acceptable level. Absolutely correct. In C, it is the management who is reducing. In B, it is the accountant who is reducing. So we as a professional accountant, we are required to perform this particular thread address. We need to address the thread, not the management. So in exam also, you need to read your option carefully, thoroughly, so that you can pay attention to each and every word. Because what happens in exam is you might have a very less time. Okay, all the questions and all the things will be there. You might have started with your exam. There will be MCQs. So what students do when answering the MCQ is they quickly skim. Like, okay, they see options from the top, few words. They try to pick up few words and they try to gauge the answer. Do not perform such kind of activity, because a single word from B to C, this is change of a single word, okay, will change your answer. Hence, always pay attention to each and every word that is there in your question or in your option. So the correct option is B. If the professional accountant determines that the identified threat to the compliance with the fundamental principles are not at an acceptable level, the accountant shall address the threat by eliminating them or by reducing them to an acceptable level. Clear? Any doubts till now? Any doubts? I was expecting this doubt. Okay. How accountant can do that? But in question, management was not ready to accept. Okay. So that was the next part which is there. Also suggest some safeguard to mitigate the above threat to the compliance with the fundamental principles. How we can reduce the threat to an acceptable level when management is not ready to listen. Can anyone tell me? So let's say, for example, now there is a threat to fundamental principle. Okay, there's a threat to fundamental principle. You need to address this threat. And let's take up the same example. Okay, let's take up the same example. Now, usually what happens is, okay, I'll explain this one also. When I talk about threat to the fundamental principles, basically it is threat to the compliance of the fundamental principles. Threat to compliance, that I may not be able to comply with the fundamental principle. Okay. So when I say we need to address the threat, take the same example. Example is similar, like, Mr. Q, he is there for auditing a company which is dealing in metals. Management is threatening Mr. Q. Okay, that they will remove Mr. Q, who is the auditor, from the engagement. Now, what and how you will address this particular threat? How you will address this particular threat? Can anyone tell me this? How you will address this particular threat? Some examples, anyone? Through the audit report, okay, very good. Disclaimer in the audit report, yes, okay. What else? Come on, guys. How you will address this threat? Integrity, trust of auditor report, statutory report, okay. Audit report, okay. What else? Taking management representation, okay. See, whenever you are required to address the threat, we will learn in coming lectures also. It's not a one-time activity. It's not something, you have a straightforward answer for this. I'll just give you a glimpse, okay. I'll just give you a glimpse. You might have already seen, or you might have already read about SA 260, 265, where we are required to communicate to those charged with governance and management. Remember? So there is a 260, 265 which talks about communication with those charged with governance. In that case, in that particular scenario, we will communicate to those charged with governance that management is threatening us. When I say those charged with governance, it could be audit committee. And we will, throughout the audit or throughout the sessions, we will learn how to address this threat. We may seek for the legal opinion, we may seek what are the legal remedies available to us and all those scenarios. So throughout the whole session, it's a continuous process that we will learn how to address these kind of threats, how to handle these kind of situations, scenarios. It's not a one short answer, do this, you are done. No, it's a professional judgment, and we will learn that professional judgment throughout the session. throughout these lectures. Okay. So one is communicating with those charges governance. Second, you can say that, okay, legal opinion, what could be done in this scenario? If nothing can be done, then think of withdrawing from engagement. You himself withdraw from the engagement. Don't wait for management. If you are able to do that, when management is not ready to rectify. So that again depends on a lot of factors, lot of scenarios. But yes, these are certain things that you can do. I hope I'm clear. Any doubt? Any doubt till now? Nope. Okay, great. So that was the question that we discussed. Now, moving ahead, there is one more part that I want to discuss with respect to the threads. Okay, there is a subsection 604, which is related to the tax services. There was a kind of change or amendment in the code of ethics, and this new subsection was made effective. Now, what is this subsection about? Okay, what is this particular subsection says, and why this is important for us to understand? See, this particular subsection, section 604, talks about tax services to audit client. When we are providing services to the audit client, tax services to the audit client. Now, as per your understanding, guys, can anyone tell me, is if I'm providing tax services to an audit client, can it be any threat or any scenario? Any threat to compliance to fundamental principles? Very good, Abrakesh. Very good. Anyone else? Providing tax services, which could include tax return preparation, tax calculations, tax planning, tax valuations, tax disputes, litigation. Can these services, if when we provide these services to an audit client, can it lead to threat to compliance with fundamental principles? Anyone? I'll take an example and let's understand this. Okay. Now, let's say you have been approached by your audit client. You are auditing ABC Limited, NSE listed entity. Okay. So you are auditing ABC Limited. This is your audit client. Okay. Now this entity has approached you that please help us in tax dispute. So there's a tax dispute. With income tax department. Okay. There's a tax dispute with income tax department. And in that particular dispute, you can say there is some kind of, related to calculation of the tax matters, or, take any example with respect to the tax dispute. Okay. With the tax authorities. Now, in this case, if you provide, let's say you represent ABC Limited in front of tax authorities, and he's the audit client also. He's the audit client also, and you are also, representing ABC Limited in front of tax authorities. Don't you feel there is an advocacy threat? Advocacy threat means you are defending your client. You are defending your client in front of the tax authorities. How will you say that your client is incorrect when you are preparing audit report? Simple question, that when you are defending your client in front of tax authorities, no, they are correct in their tax treatments, or in taking a deduction, or in showing this particular amount, whatever XYZ reason. How can you contradict with the same treatment given in the books of account when you are doing the audit? So this kind of, these things also, deduction and some disallowances are also considered for the provision of the tax. At that point in time, will you be able to contradict? No, for the purpose of provision, you are wrong, but in front of tax authorities, you are right. Don't you feel it's an advocacy threat that I am promoting the client? I will not be able to contradict the client later on in the audit scenario. Yes or no? Same way, let's say another example, very good example. Same company approached you, okay, for calculation of deferred tax liability and deferred tax asset. They have asked your assistance, please help us in calculating deferred tax liability and deferred tax asset. Don't you feel it will be some kind of issue that, okay, if I as an auditor, I am calculating deferred tax liability and deferred tax asset, or I am providing any kind of advisory, okay, based on which decisions are taken and financials are impacted. In that case, can I say back to that advisory, no, this advisory is wrong. You are not required to pass that impact in your financial statement. On one hand, I'm giving the advisory. On another hand, I'm saying, okay, I'm auditing that advisory. How will I call that advisory as a wrong? Because it is given by me only. Don't you think it will be a self-review threat? Yes, no. Anything, guys? Hence, by providing these services, there is a chance that you are creating a self-review threat or an advocacy threat. So when you are providing tax return preparation services, tax calculation for accounting entries, tax planning advisory, tax valuations, assistance in tax dispute, there are chances that there could be self-interest or self-review threat present because he is your audit client. Now, I'm talking about these services to audit client. If he is not your audit client, then like you are only providing tax disputed tax litigation service. Not an issue. Perfectly fine. So understand, when I'm providing the service to an audit client, it's an issue or it could create a threat. But if it is not an audit client, then it won't be a threat. Now, I'll come to that particular point of Rakesh. Now, there are some straightforward no-nos. Straight no, which is given in the code of ethics itself. Means these are something, you are not required to do. Or these services you are not required to provide to your audit clients if they are public interested entities, where public is interested, PIE. Okay. So if public is interested, in that case, public interest entities, for these public interest entities, you shouldn't be providing these services. Material tax calculation, advocacy in material tax dispute, tax advice dependent on questionable accounting. Okay. So any kind of scenario which will create a self-review threat or advocacy threat. I'm talking about material also together. Material means it will have a good impact on your financial statement. In that case, do not provide these services, no, to your audit client. Straightforward, no. Or let's say, for example, if it is not material, still you want to provide, then you need to address the threat and you need to bring that threat to an acceptable level by applying safeguards, which is given in the code of ethics. Some examples are given, but you can, apply some safeguard. For example, have a separate team who is auditing and who is preparing the text, or you outsource this particular services to some independent professional accountant. You do not deal yourself. Okay. If it is a network firm, then your firm should not be involved. Some other network firm might be involved. But again, they are kind of independent of you. So some kind of, safeguards we can apply and bring the threat to an acceptable level when the transactions are not material. But when they are material, when it is public interest entities, there are some straight no's. You shouldn't do that. So this is kind of an extension of the identification of threats. We, by our own self, when providing service, will create a threat, not the client. Clear? Any doubt? Any doubt, guys, till now? Okay. No doubts? Okay, great. So after this tax services, we have to discuss one important topic. Okay. That is NOCLA, which is non-compliant with laws and regulations. Okay. Now, what is this NOCLA? What is non-compliant with laws and regulations? Basically, as a professional accountant, okay, we have some responsibilities under code of ethics. Now, it could be, a responsibility with respect to when we are public accountant in practice. It could be responsibility when public accountant in service. So there are two subsections or sections in code of ethics. One is 360, one is 260. 260, the first, second part is applicable to public accountant in service, and hence it is dealing with the non-compliance with laws and regulations applicable to professional accountant in service. So it talks about professional accountant and senior professional accountant. I'll discuss in detail what is a senior professional accountant, what is a professional accountant. Section 360 is the third part, which is dealing with professional accountant in public practice, and hence it deals with the non-compliance with laws and regulations in case of an audit of a listed entity. So if you are doing audit, and if you are doing audit of a listed entity, 360 will be applicable to you. If you are in employment, and if you are a professional accountant or a senior professional accountant, 260 will be applicable to you when you identify a non-compliance with laws and regulations. Okay. Now, why this is important and why we are required to learn this about this particular NOCLA? What is NOCLA? Like, why we are required to learn about this? See, as a professional accountant, we have some responsibilities towards society, towards companies, stakeholders, and organizations. Okay. Not only the responsibilities that are entrusted to us as a part of the engagement. Let's say, for example, I'm an auditor. So not only the responsibility to perform the audit, but there are some other responsibilities also over and above that. That's why there is a trust, there is a confidence in our signature, in our opinion. Okay, based on these responsibilities only. So when we fulfill these responsibilities, there is a trust and confidence on our opinion. Okay. So basically, these opinions and this particular trust, okay, are kind of, we are required to maintain and we are required to fulfill some responsibilities. Uh, just Oja, if you can just, Ginny, if you can just, repost your queries because I have not received your earlier queries. So if you just can repost, that will be really helpful for me. Okay, thank you. So yeah, I was talking about basically when and why this responsibility is there, why we are required to follow. When it comes to the non-compliance with laws and regulations, when we detect any non-compliance as a professional, as a professional accountant, it is our responsibility to bring to the attention of the client. When I talk about client, it could be management or those charges governance. And when we are in service, we need to bring to the attention of the management or senior most, professional management, which is there. So as a professional accountant, it is our responsibility. That's why there is a trust, there is a confidence when they employ us or when we are being engaged by them. And we need to maintain that trust. That's why no clause is there. The requirement of section 260 and 360 is there. Okay. Now, what is the difference between both? What we are required to do and when these get triggered? I'll just provide you some brief understanding. So when I talk about no clause or non-compliance with laws and regulations, here as a professional accountant, whenever we encounter any non-compliance, okay, encounter any non-compliance means whenever we identify any non-compliance, okay, there is a non-compliance kind of in the organization. Someone is not complying with a relevant law or regulation. Okay. So whenever there is a non-compliance, in that case, there is certain responsibilities to us. So the trigger point is the identification of non-compliance. Identification of the non-compliance with laws and regulations. So if we identify any non-compliance with laws and regulations, that is a trigger point for this. Now from here, we need to understand whether we are in service or public practice, and some things will differ accordingly. So once we identify, what we are required to do is we are required to perform certain activities. We are required to perform, some things, some activities or some duties. But before that, what we are required to do, we need to understand what is non-compliance. What this term non-compliance means. Because till the time we are not aware what is non-compliance, how can we report a non-compliance? So we need to understand what non-compliance means. Overall, what is the definition of non-compliance? So when I talk about non-compliance, non-compliance can be any act, omission, okay, or commission, whether intentional or unintentional, okay, which is contrary to the prevailing laws and regulations, okay, which is contrary to the prevailing laws and regulations, okay, and being committed by and being committed, this act, omission or commission is committed by specified parties. In that case, it will be called as a non-compliance. Understand, it could be an act, omission, commission, whether intentional, unintentional, which is contrary to the prevailing laws. I'm not talking about any specific law. I'm not talking about only Companies Act. I'm not talking about only Income Tax Act. I'm talking about prevailing laws. Can be any law which is applicable to a particular entity, to an organization where either you are employed or you are doing audit. So prevailing laws, regulations, okay, and it's being committed by specified parties. Now, what is specified party? That is very important to understand. Okay, what is specified parties? That is something very important to understand. Now, the term specified parties will differ. If we are in the employment, specified parties will be different. If we are in, you know, auditing the client, specified parties will differ. Criminal also, yes. Any law, there is no just, restriction to any particular law. It's all the laws. Let's say, for example, even, if there is a restriction in the Chartered Accountants Act, or if there is any restriction in any other law, time being in force, and if you identify a non-compliance, you need to take some actions. And that non-compliance should be committed by specified party. Yes, ESIC, PF, all those are also applicable. For example, fraud, corruption, bribery, money laundering, any such thing, data protection related, tax, pension liabilities, payments, environmental protection, public health safety, all those things. Okay. So, all those, I'm talking about all those particular non-compliances or contrary, any act contrary to those prevailing laws. Okay. Now, what are the specified parties will differ based on the service or the public practice, or or you are auditing the client. Okay. So, when I talk about specified parties, in case of Section 260, that is, you are in service. Okay. Section 260, or I call it professional accountant in service. So, specified parties will differ. When I talk about specified parties under 360, that is professional accountant in practice, it will differ. Now, what is a specified party? So, when I talk about 260, okay, the specified parties will be employing organization, individual charged with the governance responsibilities, okay, member of management. So these are the specified parties I'm talking about. Or you can say other individuals working under or direction of the employing organization. Means other employees, they are working for the company, or the organization which has employed you. Okay, so employees of the organization. So four categories are there. One, organization itself, employing organization. Individual charged with governance, we call it management. Okay, or those charged with governance, member of management, and employees. So if any of the act performed by the specified parties, in case of when you are employed by an organization, it will be counted as an non-compliance to laws and regulations. In case of 360, when there is a professional accountant in public practice, these changes in the parties change, but slightly. For example, employee organization becomes your audit client. So employing organization becomes audit client. Individual charged with governance. Okay, again, that is part of your audit client only. Or you can say those charged with governance. Audit clients, those charged with governance. When I say management, again, audit clients, management. And in case of employees, again, it doesn't matter. It's an employee or management or those charged with governance or audit client. Everything will be audit client only. Audit clients, employees. So if when you are in practice, when you are auditing a listed entity above a threshold, and if you see non-compliance carried by audit client, they are those charged with governance, management, employees, you have to report, you have to take certain actions. Clear? So see the difference between these specified parties when it comes to the 260 and 360. However, there is one small thing that I need to highlight. I'll do a star mark over here. This star marks is kind of, condition supply, which is exclusions. So there are certain things which are excluded from the non-compliance, which is personal misconduct. Okay, unrelated to business activity. It is not related business activity of organization. It is totally personal. Or when I talk about practicing or audit case, it is not related to audit client. Second, non-compliance by parties other than above. Now, which can be the parties other than above, like which are specified above? Vendors, customers, okay. Third party organization hired by the third party independent organization hired by the company or organization. Okay. So consultants which are working independently, agents working independently. So all those people, all those particular parties will not fall under the purview of specified party. So if they do any non-compliance, it will not fall under section 260 or 360. Clear? Any doubt till now? Any doubt? Abrakesh, can you explain your query more, like where such non-compliance fall? Ginny, your question, answer to your question that whether CA can do audit of his family member's account. See, in that case, there is a, there are restrictions in the Companies Act when they are relative, even in the Income Tax Act, or even there is a threat to the familiarity threat when you do the audit of your family members. So usually you are not allowed to do. That is not allowed. Uh, just a minute. So based on this, Abrakesh, can you write your particular query? It will be helpful to understand.
Good evening,
Uh,
sir. Abrakesh.
yes,
What I want to ask is personal misconduct not related to business activity or audit client is not covered under this no, I mean non-compliance as an exclusion. Now,
yes.
what if in that case where this is covered under professional misconduct? For example, any chartered accountant in job, in service does
Mhm.
some misconduct like sexual harassment to the co-work colleague or something, then where it falls? And I mean, where it falls? It's a non-compliance. Still, it's covered under non-exclusion.
Okay. See, there are two scenarios. One, this particular no clause is applicable when we identify non-compliance conducted by third party or specified party. So we see someone else is doing a non-compliance. We as a chartered accountant, we as a yeah, professional accountant see that someone else is doing a non-compliance. But when we as a professional accountant do a non-compliance, it will be covered under the professional misconduct. We will be, gone. We will be, you will say, covered under the professional misconduct that we will see in the coming lectures.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Please unmute.
Yeah. Audit client, then audit clients, those charged with governance. So if their governance also, those charged with governance is also involved in non-compliance, then for me as a, when I'm doing audit of a client of a listed entity, if they do any non-compliance, it will be part of no class. So that is a those charged with governance. Second number. Any questions, any queries?
No, it's okay, sir. I mean, sufficient. Thank you. Sir, please unmute.
Yep.
Sorry. Please mute me.
Yeah. Anyone else? Any queries, any questions? Nope. Okay, great. So, guys, let's take a 10-15 minutes break, refresh yourself, grasp what we have discussed till now. Okay, charge back, and after the break, we'll gather back and continue the session. Okay, take a 15 minutes or 10 minutes break. We'll gather after the 10 minutes. Okay, thank you. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the session. Let's continue. There are certain queries that we have received with respect to, I'll take this up, that how to get the Zoom link for the classes, like how to join through Zoom, okay, for these classes. Now, I'll just show you guys. Okay. So if you go to BOS portal, that is boslive.ici.org. Okay. If you go to this particular portal over there, what will happen is go down and you will see BOS announcement. In this announcement, there is an announcement commencement of live virtual classes for CA final students of CA final course appearing in May 2025 exam. Click on that. You will get the announcement which is there. In that announcement, you will get all the links of Zoom classes which are there paper wise. So paper 1, paper 2, paper 3. Schedule is over there. Like Zoom link will remain same. It will not change. Okay. And based on schedule, you can attend the lectures live through Zoom. Okay. Also, you can access classes through Google Play Store, iOS, ICAI BOS mobile app, ICAI BOS mobile app on the Apple and Google Play Store. There's a BOS knowledge portal. From there also you can attend the lectures, or lectures are hosted on CATube, ICAI CATube. That is the YouTube channel of the ICAI. So through these means, you can attend the classes. Okay. And you can use these Zoom links to log into the lecture and to attend the lecture through Zoom. Clear? Okay. So for students who have doubt how to get the Zoom link, you can get Zoom link from the BOS portal in announcement. Okay. Now, coming back to no class. Okay. Even just one thing, even email has been shared with the link to the students, so you can also check your emails. Okay. So coming back to no class, that we were discussing about like specified entities and what is non-compliant. Now let's understand something more. We understood the specified entities. We understood what is non-compliance. There is one more thing we need to understand. Like in case of professional accountant in service, or in case of professional accountant in practice, to which clients this is applicable. So we understood employing organization, audit client. But is there any definition of audit client? Is there any threshold for the audit client? Is there any threshold for the employing organization? So we need to understand that. Now, when I say section 260, that is professional accountant in service, I have specified organization. Okay, I have specified organization. Now, what this organization means? This organization is nothing but you can say listed entities. I'm talking about here listed entities. All listed entities. And this is applicable to only senior professional accountants. This is applicability. Okay. So applicable to listed entities and senior professional accountant. Now, what is SPA? Senior professional accountant. Senior professional accountant who is on senior position in organization, where he can exercise influence, where he can exercise authority. Okay. So that is senior professional accountant. Now, when I talk about listed entities, all listed, not only NSE listed, BSE listed, no, all listed entities. It's not any restricted listed entity. I'm talking about all. Clear? So applicable to senior professional accountants and listed entities when I'm talking about section 260, that is professional accountant in service. Means that if a senior professional accountant identifies a non-compliance with laws and regulations when he is employed by the listed entity and that non-compliance is carried by specified parties, then this particular section will applicable. Clear? Again, senior professional accountant employed by listed entity identifies a non-compliance with laws and regulations which is performed by specified party, 260 will be applicable. Section 360, that is for professional accountant in practice. Okay. Now, it is applicable in case of, okay, professional accountant in practice, but is it applicable for all the audit engagements or some limited audit engagements or only review engagement, assurance engagement? To which type of engagement this is applicable? So this is applicable only to the audit of listed entities. So when there is an engagement of audit of listed entities, but listed entities, there is a threshold with, or I would say above threshold. As of now, just remember there is a above threshold. I will replace this threshold with an amount. Just as of now, remember, audit of listed entity above threshold. Okay. So now, in case of a professional accountant in practice, there is nothing such as a senior professional accountant. That is only service where he's on a position. All professional accountant in practice are equal. So like, either he's a fellow or he's an associate, but applicable to both. So there is no differentiation when it comes to professional accountant in practice. And it is applicable to audit engagement of a listed entity. Now, listed entity above threshold means above threshold, that threshold is nothing but, as of now, net worth more than rupees 250 CR. If the net worth of that listed entity is more than 250 CR and a professional accountant who is providing or who is doing audit of that listed entity identifies non-compliance with laws and regulations performed by specified parties, in that case, 360 will be applicable. Are you getting my point? So now you must be clear when 260 will be applicable, when 360 will be applicable. So we understood the applicability for both. Okay. We understood what is, covered under the non-compliance. We understood what is specified party. Now we are clear with when this will be applicable. Now we need to understand what to do when this is applicable. Why only CPA under 260? Or you want to say senior professional accountant, SPA? Okay. Why only senior professional accountant? Reason because the answer to this lies in what we are required to do. As of now, why it is only covered for senior professional accountants? The answer lies in what is required to be done when you identify a non-compliance. See, like we need to understand here, once we identify a non-compliance which falls under the bucket of all the definitions in specified parties, listed entities, turnover with threshold for audit cases. Okay, once we identify such non-compliance, we are required to perform certain things and certain, there is a duty on us. Now, can that duty be discharged by only a normal professional accountant, or it can only be discharged by senior professional accountant? That is something we need to understand. So responsibilities are there on both. but majority or major responsibility lies on the senior professional accountant when it comes to the 260. Okay. So now what is and what we are required to do? And when I talk about senior professional accountant, means yes, that is something experience or the designation in the organization. Not only experience, but the designation that they are able to exercise the power, okay, of decision making. Power of decision making. So they are able to exercise that power, or they are on the senior position in the organization where they can influence the decision making, or whether they can participate in the decision making, or where they can make the decision for the organization. That is a senior professional accountant. For example, he's a CFO, he's a CEO, he's on a position like in audit committee or something like that. Okay. Now, let's talk about the responsibility responding to non-compliances. Once you have identified, then we need to respond to non-compliance. What is responding to non-compliance? You need to perform three things. Number one, obtain understanding of the matter. When I call matter, that is non-compliance. For example, what is the nature of non-compliance? Okay. Period involved. Then you can say potential impact. Or you can analyze the consequences, penalties basically for non-compliances. See, each and every non-compliance will have some penalty, some consequence. So nature, period, potential impact, penalties. Okay, you need to understand that when it comes to the obtaining understanding of the matter. When I talk about addressing the matter, second part is addressing the matter or the non-compliance. How you need to address is, what you need to do is discuss with the supervisor or management. Okay. Communicate the matter to those charged with governance. Comply with the law. Do compliance. If there is a non-compliance, best thing is to do is start complying. Okay. Rectify the non-compliance. Reduce the risk of reoccurrence. Means reduce the risk. If there was a non-compliance, means some control, some process is not working appropriately. Rectify the process, reduce the risk of non-compliance or reoccurrence. Okay. Then, in case required, then obtain external opinions, or inform external authorities. So external authorities, that will include auditors also. So for case of a professional accountant in service, you might need to inform your auditor also, okay, this was a non-compliance that was there in the organization, but that has been rectified and the process has been remediated, something like that. Okay. And you may seek advice, and then you need to appropriately document everything. That is the second step, addressing the matter. Third is determine further action. When this will be triggered? Determining further actions is when either you are not able to address the matter, or the matter is not addressed fully. Means, for example, still there is a non-compliance, you have communicated with them, you are not able to rectify, you are not able to reduce the risk of reoccurrence. there is a roadblock, there is something that is not allowing you to address the matter, then you need to determine further steps. You need to first understand how to address, what we need to do to address the matter. Are we required to communicate further? Are we required to communicate to external authorities? Are we required to do some big changes? What is required to be done? Then, what is the time to respond? Means, in case of a FEMA violations, you have some time period still. Okay, you need to comply with this time period. Still, you can, go for compounding or something like that. In case of a company set, if there is a non-compliance with the ROC non-compliance, there is a penalty going on. But there is still some time. Okay, you can apply for some rectification or something like that. In that case, what is the time to respond? In what time we have to respond back? And status of the non-compliance, whether it has been rectified or not. So you need to determine the further actions for this. If you are not able to address the matter, so you need to understand, you need to address. If not able to address, determine further action. And after everything you do, don't forget to document. Documentation of whole non-compliance, whatever steps taken, whatever has been done is necessary. Any doubts till now? Any doubts? I hope you now understood how to respond to a non-compliance. Any doubt? So there is a question: should specified party be given opportunity to represent about non-compliance? Yes. So in non-compliance, it's not only just okay, you have done non-compliance, you are penalized. No, you discuss, you communicate, you understand what has been done, why it has been done, and you then try to rectify. Imminent breach. Can you just explain further what is you are looking in imminent breach? Mm, can you just refer the, if it is in the book, okay, so can you just refer where you are referring this particular point or which paragraph you are referring to? I can just, go through that and explain you. Okay. Any other doubt, guys? Basically, when okay, so you are referring into a chart. Okay. Applicability. So the third part is step to be taken for responding. Now, imminent breach means what is the breach? You are trying to understand what is the matter, what is the potential impact, penalties. It's a breach. If there is a breach of a law or regulation which is in continuation, then what is the period of the continuation. So you are understanding that particular point over there. Yes, seeking advice. You may hire legal consultants, external consultants in this scenario. So external authorities or consultant or legal lawyers, you may hire them to understand the matter. Sometimes it is pretty straightforward. There is a breach, there is a non-compliance. Sometimes it is subjective, very much complex. There is not a simple yes or no answer. In those scenarios, you need to hire legal consultants to understand what is the impact. Any further doubt? Very good question, Jimmy. So for the examination, is ICAI module enough or we need to refer to any other source? ICAI module is well drafted, is enough. Trust me, it is well drafted and it is enough for you to understand the concept and to answer the question. There is nothing further you should refer. If you still want to refer, you can refer to the bare text of the engagement and quality control standards, or you can refer to the bare text of the code of ethics, the text which has been issued by the ICAI. Okay, so you may go on the next step and refer the bare text. You may go to the next step. You may refer to the Council General Guidelines or bare text of the Chartered Accountants Act. But any other material, I would say no. There is sufficient and there is enough material given in the study module. But if you want to still go, there is there is enough material given on the BOS portal also. If you go to the BOS portal, you will find there is a Saransh last mile referencer for revision of quick revision of your subject. You can use that also. So all these things are enough. No need to refer to any other source. Yes, Vyom. No issue. So there are not much changes, so you can refer to that addition. Plus, you have the RTPs. If there are any changes, then they come into the RTP part, so you can also refer that. Any doubt, guys? Any doubt till now? Okay. I will just touch upon one more part here with respect to the non-compliance. That is, when I talk about non-compliance with laws and regulations, there is a SA 250 also applicable. What is SA 250? SA 250 is basically also dealing in the same scenario. It is for the audits, not for the other assurance engagement, not for the professional accountant or senior professional accountant in service. Okay. Like NOCLAR, SA 250 also takes into account non-compliances. Auditor is required to consider laws and regulations in an audit. Non-compliances to the laws and regulations which have a direct impact. Okay, auditors is required to perform some procedures. In case of indirect laws and regulations, he needs to, if something comes up to his attention, then he needs to perform some procedures. So there is SA 250 also, which is applicable to audit, not on the other assurance engagement. However, no class is applicable to professional accountant in service also. So it has extended version of, you can say, SA 250. Okay. We will discuss SA 250 when we will be discussing, the standards on auditing or engagement or quality control standard. We will discuss SA 250 in detail, and at that point in time, we will again reference back to no class for further understanding. Okay. So as of now, park and keep in mind that NOCLAR is the extended version of SA 250. Clear? Any doubt? Priyanka, when I talk about other assurance means, when a professional accountant is in service, is employed by an organization. So over there also, he's providing some kind of service to the organization in employment. So that covers under the no class. Okay. Let's proceed further now. That was a no class, and section 260 360 both we understood in detail. Now, I just want to take up one question on no class so that we are fully covered with this topic and we fully understand this topic. Okay. So here is a question. Mr. J, a chartered accountant in service, was appointed as a project manager under full-time employment for DEF Limited, a NSE listed company. During a project, Mr. J identified that the DEF Limited might have not complied with some of the requirement of the stock exchange listing agreement, which could result in penalty. However, as he was not having any further evidence with him to substantiate the non-compliance, and it was out of the purview of his roles and responsibility as a project manager, Mr. J ignored the matter and did not discuss it with anyone in the organization. Kindly guide whether the decision of not disclosing the information to anyone in the organization regarding the potential breach is appropriate. So let's don't go on the options first. Let's understand the question and you try to answer. What was the responsibility of Mr. J and what he should have done? Considering in this question, I will consider Mr. J as senior professional accountant. Assume that Mr. J is a senior professional accountant. What he should do? Any answers, guys? Reported to those charged with governance. Okay, very good. He has to address the non-compliance. He should discuss the matter. Okay, great. What else? Great. Okay, he should discuss the matter. Now, let us see the options also then. Section 260 is applicable. Mr. J has signed the employment agreement which contains the clause of confidentiality. Also, as a fundamental principle, Mr. J is required to maintain confidentiality all the time. Hence, it is appropriate that Mr. J does not discuss the matter with anyone. If I discuss, there could, like option A says that there could be impact on confidentiality. Option B, Mr. B, chartered accountant in service of a listed company, is required to evaluate to whom the disclosure should be made amongst the management or those charged with governance or appropriate audit authority regarding the potential non-compliance to prevent or mitigate the consequence of such imminent breach. Option C, matters that are inconsequential or relating to personal misconduct pertaining to any business activity of the company are not required to be discussed with anyone. Hence, decision of Mr. J is correct. And D, if professional accountant encounters or is made aware of non-compliance or suspected non-compliance in the course of providing a professional service, then he is not required to discuss the same and he is not required to investigate the same. Also understand this non-compliance is not with respect to the roles and responsibility of Mr. J. So it was out of the purview of his roles and responsibilities as a project manager. And again, remember this, that in this case, he identified that might have not complied, but he was not having any further evidence. to substantiate with the non-compliance. So he don't have the full information. He don't have the full information. It is not under his role and purview. Option A is also critical, that says it could be a breach of confidentiality. So what do you think? What is the correct option? B. Okay, D, B. Some are saying B, some are saying D. B, okay. B, okay. Okay, Divya, B. Very good. B. Anyone else with any other option? A or D? B. Okay. So, yes, you guys are right. Correct option is B. He is required to evaluate. Why not A? Because there is a specific requirement of section 260 which is applicable over here. Hence, it is not about the confidentiality. We need to follow the section 260, that is a no class. So that's why A will not be the correct answer. Why C will not be the correct answer? Because it is not inconsequential or relating to the personal misconduct. It is not a personal misconduct. Hence, C is also not applicable. Why D is not applicable? Because he is required to report. That's why D is also not applicable. So correct answer is B. Yes, Nisha, very good. Confidentiality with respect to the external parties. And here we are reporting within the organization. Even sometimes confidentiality goes within the organization also. It's not only external parties, but here we have a specific requirement of 260. Clear? So non-compliance can be suspected non-compliance also. Not necessary that you have all the information for the non-compliance. Non-compliance can be outside of your role or purview also. Now, let's discuss this question once more, and by making one small change. I am removing this senior over here. Mr. J is a professional accountant, not a senior accountant, senior professional accountant. Now tell me, is he required to report? I have changed a slight thing in the question that Mr. J is a professional accountant, not a senior professional accountant. Is he required to report? Yes, no. 260 will be applicable. Yes, no. Come on, guys. Yes, no. Is 260 applicable? Not required. Okay. So, when I say Mr. J as a professional accountant, yes, still 260 will be applicable, but there is a slight difference. 260 is applicable, but there's a difference when it's a senior professional accountant and when he's not a senior professional accountant. When he's not a senior professional accountant, he needs to use the protocol and the procedure which is already existing in the employee organization. For example, ethics helpline. In organizations, you have an ethics helpline, or you have a whistleblower. or you have some other mechanisms to report the suspected non-compliance anonymously. Okay. So 260 says that even if you are not a professional accountant, you should consider that is there any protocol or procedure existing in your organization to report that non-compliance or suspected non-compliance internally? If yes, then use that protocol. For example, ethics policy, internal whistleblowing mechanism, and report that anonymously, that is fine. When a professional accountant becomes aware of a matter to which 260 applies, okay, now the requirement is like that he should take the steps in a timely manner. Okay, now timely manner means whenever he comes to know about this non-compliance, he should use internal channels, procedures, protocols which are there in the organization to report the non-compliance to the relevant authority. Okay, now if he is a senior professional accountant, then there's a lot of things he need to do. The 3 steps: understand the matter, address the matter, understand the next steps. Remember the 3 steps. But he's not a professional accountant, senior professional accountant. If he's only the professional accountant, in that case, use the protocols and procedures within the professional accountants employing organization and report on timely manner. That's it. There is no other requirement from him. So that is the requirement. He is only the professional accountant. 260 will be still applicable, but the requirement are less. Clear? Any doubt? Any doubt, guys? Okay. If no further doubt, let's proceed further. What after NOCLA? What we will be discussing is we will be starting with the Chartered Accountants Act 1949. Okay. And we will be starting with the first thing is a disability for the purpose of membership, section 8. Okay. Now, there is a section 8 of the Chartered Accountants Act. Now we are discussing about the Chartered Accountant Act, not the Code of Ethics. So we are out of the Code of Ethics into the Act. Okay. Now, Chartered Accountants Act has certain sections which are applicable. One is with respect to the register of members. So section 19 requires that there is a register of member where details of every member is entered into that registered. Then there is a section 8, very important, that is a disability for the purpose of membership. Okay, there is one doubt that I think I should take it. What if the senior professional accountant fails to adhere to the section 260? He does not comply with 260. What is the scenario in that case? That I will discuss when I will be discussing schedules to the Chartered Accountant Act, professional misconduct. Over there, I will cover this when he is non-complying with the NOCLA. As of now, park it for the professional misconduct. That if he is not complying with section 260, then professional misconduct. I will cover over there in detail. Okay. Okay. Now, we were discussing around section 8, that is the disability for the purpose of membership. Means if you fall in any of the conditions which is mentioned in section 8, you will be disabled to be registered as a member. Okay. Now, what are those disabilities? Very simple. You are below the age of 21, unsound mind. You are undischarged insolvent or discharged insolvent who has not obtained a certificate from the court. You are convicted or you are removed from the membership due to guilty of professional or other misconduct. So, if any of the condition is there, you will be disqualified, you will be not eligible to be your name to be entered into the register of members. Person will be debarred from having his name entered into the register of members if any of the condition is there. Okay, so there's a chart also to quickly remember what are the section 8 disqualification. 21, unsound mind, insolvent. Okay, this is convicted and removed. This is how it is structured. So the icons also shows that you can easily remember. Okay, clear with this section 8. Now, if in addition to this, let's say for example, if a member is there whose name has already been registered, or for example, a person who wants to enter, who wants to apply for the membership, and while filling up the membership form, he has not disclosed the fact that he is suffering from any of the disabilities. Then what will happen? For example, I have not disclosed that I am insolvent, undischarged insolvent. So what will be the scenario? What will happen? Anyone? If I am not disclosed these disabilities, then what will happen? Let's say I try to get my name registered, or even after registering the name, I encounter with disability, but I do not disclose that disability. Absolutely correct. Number one, his name will be removed. Number two, he will be guilty of professional misconduct. So he will fall in the last point, that is, his name will be removed because of the guilty of professional misconduct, and again he will become disabled. So it will be a cycle. So if you do not disclose any of the disability, you will be charged, you will be guilty of a professional misconduct, and your name will be removed. And now you have attracted another disability from section 8. Clear? Any doubt? Okay. There is one more important section that I want to cover quickly. That is with respect to section 5 of the Chartered Accountants Act. Section 5 of the Chartered Accountants Act. Okay. Now, what this section says? This section talks about types of members. So there are two types of members. One is the associate member. Another is the fellow member. Okay. Now, associate member means whose name has been entered into the register of members. He is the associate from day one. So, from first day, he will be associate member. Okay. And he can use the letters ACA after his name. Okay. He can use the letters ACA after his name to denote the membership. Now, when I talk about the fellow member, who will be the fellow member? A fellow member is who is at least in a continuous practice of 5 years. So the first criteria is the continuous practice of a 5 years. Okay. So ACA, who is the continuous practice of 5 years in India. So the requirement is in India. Then the next criteria is a member who has been associate for a continuous period of not less than 5 years. Okay, means more than 5 years. He was an associate for more than 5 years. So associate for more than 5 years plus possesses such qualification as may be prescribed by council, okay, with a view to ensure that he has an experience equivalent to the normally acquired as a result of continuous practice. So you can say possesses such qualifications which is equivalent to the experience normally acquired as a result of continuous practice of period 5 years. So these are the two conditions. Either you fulfill number 1. So I will say this is or. Either you fulfill number 1, either you fulfill number 2. So if you fulfill any of the conditions, you are eligible for a fellow membership. Clear? So if you fulfill any of the conditions, then you are eligible for the fellow membership. No. So there is a question, is it necessary for the practice to be done in India only, or it can be conducted outside India for the person to be treated in an SPA? See, the provisions of the Act, okay, they specifically say continuous practice in India for at least 5 years in India. So this in India is must. I cannot say that, okay, it can be removed. No, in India is required. Practice for 5 years in India. And I should be associate member at that point in time. So associate member who is being in continuous practice in India for at least 5 years. Clear? Which are such qualifications? Which qualifications you are referring to, Abrakesh? For ACA to be a SPA. Okay. Now, for these qualifications, okay. So there is a regulation 5.3 of the Chartered Accountants Regulation. Regulation 5, sub-regulation 3, which talks about what is to be, such qualification or experience. So let's say, for example, being in government service or being employed in an educational institution. approved by the council, or being employed in a private or government, industrial, commercial, trading undertaking, okay, or ordinarily holding or ordinarily held for continuous period of more than 5 years, a post which carries the duties of cost accountant, audit, finance, taxation, company law, secretarial work. So that is counted. If he is being employed under a statutory authority for more than 5 years, and again carrying the duties of accounts, cost accounts, audit, finance, taxation, company law, again counted. Being employed under the local authority with the same, but there is a jurisdiction limitation of population, like more than 5 lakhs. Then he has served for a continuous period of more than 5 years as a full-time paid assistant under chartered accountant. So all these things are already covered in Regulation 5.3. So there is a detailed Regulation 5.3 on this particular part. What is the experience normally acquired as a result of continuous practice for 5 years? Which experience is equated to that? Am I clear? Yes, post qualification only. See, for becoming fellow member, you have to be associate member. And to be associate member, you have to be qualified. So whatever I'm talking about here is a post qualification. It is not like that pre-qualification. Any doubts till now? Any doubts? Okay. So that was section 5, types of member in the institute. Now the next section that I want to take up is section 20, removal from the name of removal of name from the register. Removal of name from the register. Okay. What this section talks about? So this section talks about certain conditions, okay, where the council may remove the name from the register, the name of any member of the institute. So in these scenarios, name can be removed by the council. Number 1, member who is dead. Or who from whom a request has been received. So who has requested? A member who has requested for removal of name. Third, a member who has not paid the fee. Fourth, a member who is found to have been subject to, okay, at any point in time when his name was registered or afterward, any disability mentioned in section 8. So, who has been subject to section 8 disqualification or disability. For them, the council may remove the name of the member from register. Clear? Pretty simple, straightforward. 4 conditions. Either he is dead, either there is a request which is received from the member, either he has not paid the fees, or there is a disqualification under section 8 of the Charter Accounting Act. Then the council shall remove the name of any member from the register. Plus, over and above that, there is one more condition. If an order has been passed for removal of his name. Means he was guilty of professional misconduct and an order has been passed to remove his name. So council will remove the name, or any other authority has passed that order. So accordingly, his name will be removed. Clear? Any doubt? Uh, Abrakesh, usually that's why there is a know your member that you are required to do, or you are required to pay the fees. So if the person is not able, he will not be able to pay the fees if he is not there. So other, disqualifications are attraction. Any doubt, guys? Yes, if the name of any member has been removed from the register for non-payment of the prescribed fees as required by him to pay, okay, then on receipt of an application from that member, his name can be entered again into the register of member on payment of the arrears of the annual fee, entrance fee, and such additional fee that may be charged at that particular point in time or determined by the council. So if he is able to pay all the fees on time, okay, which he did not pay earlier, like arrears, entrance, plus additional fee or penalty, something like that, and he applies for the membership, then his name can be entered again. Who can pass the order? So, see, when a person is guilty of a professional misconduct, there is a way or there is a mechanism, okay, disciplinary directorate, board of discipline. So they take care of the matters and they may pass the order. Okay. Uh, we will discuss that in detail when we will reach to the topic that how the orders are passed, what is the mechanism, who deals in which situation, whether disciplinary directorate or board of discipline, or how it is there, how it is structured. So we'll discuss that. But yes, once just as of now, for understand that once an order is passed for the removal of the name, council will remove the name. Any other doubt, guys? Abhirakesh, in that case, it will be fraudulent act because misusing the COP can be called as a fraud and they may attract criminal charges when identified, basically. Another important point that I want to discuss here, okay. Yes, Genie, auditor will receive or the member will receive an opportunity of being heard. That is there. They will be, given an opportunity and then only these particular orders or something like that is passed. Quickly, I want to cover one more specific area. Penalty for falsely claiming to be a member. So this is a section 24 of the Chartered Accountants Act. Okay. Now, section 24 of the Chartered Accountants Act talks about penalty. Now, there are two conditions or two scenarios when these penalties are applicable. One, not being a member of the institute, either he represents himself that he is a member of the institute or uses the designation of a chartered accountant. This is a one condition or one section. Second section is he being a member of the institute but not having a certificate of practice represents that he is a practice or practicing chartered accountant. In both cases, there is a penalty. So two sections of the penalty. One, not being a member, represents himself as a member. Second, being a member but not in practice, represents himself that he is practicing chartered account. So the penalty is for the first conviction, that is 1,000 rupees, which may extend to 1,000. For any subsequent conviction, which is 5,000. Okay, and an imprisonment of 6 months or both. So 1,000 for the first conviction, subsequent imprisonment and 5,000 or both. Clear? So this is a penalty for falsely claiming to be a member under section 24 of the Chartered Accountant Act. Any doubt till now? Any doubt? There is one query that FCA condition point number 2. Can you please repeat? Okay, sure, yes. Point number 2. Point number 2 is when an associate member is not in practice for continuous 5 years, but he is an associate for more than 5 years, and if he possesses such qualification which is equivalent to being in practice for 5 years, in that case his name can be entered as a fellow. Now, what is that experience which can be counted as an equivalent to being practiced in 5 years? So what is that kind of experience? That experience is listed in regulation 5.3 in detail, very detailed. Okay, we will not go to the regulation 5.3. Okay, but that is there in 5.3 in very detailed case to case basis. Okay, whether this will be counted as an experience equivalent to the continuous practice of period of 5 years or not. So that is the second condition. I hope I am clear. I hope your doubt has been resolved. Okay, great. Any further doubt? Any further doubt? Okay. If no further doubt, then I want to take one more quickly section or regulation, basically, that is important to understand. That is cancellation and restoration of COP. Okay, cancellation and restoration of COP. This is regulation 10. Okay, what this regulation says that certificate of practice shall liable to be for cancellation when the name of the holder of certificate is removed from the register. Means member is no longer a member. Basically, his name has been removed from register. Okay, so if a member was holding COP, his name has been removed, so COP will get cancelled. Second, if council, okay, the council is satisfied that the person or the certificate was issued basis of the incorrect information, misleading information, or false information, or by mistake, or by some error, in that case certificate will be cancelled, COP will be cancelled. So the council is satisfied that the COP was issued incorrectly, basically incorrectly or based on incorrect information. Third, a member who has ceased to practice. Okay. And fourth, a member who has not paid annual fees. In these scenarios, COP will get cancelled or is liable for cancellation. Clear? Pretty straightforward, nothing difficult, no confusion over here. Simple. And remember one thing. When the COP was cancelled, okay, for non-payment of fees, and it has been restored from the date of cancellation, okay, in that case, the continuous period may be counted based on the, if there is restored from the date of cancellation. So what happens is at times, when I talk about fellow membership, I require continuous period of 5 years. Practice of continuous period of 5 years. But what if there was a cancellation of COP in between? Can it still be counted as a continuous period of 5 years? Yes, only if the cancellation was for not payment of fees, it was paid, all the things were rectified, and COP was restored with effect from the date it was cancelled. In that case, yes, it can still be counted as a continuous period of 5 years, but for that you need to apply. In all the other cases that he has ceased to practice, COP was issued by mistake, his name was removed, continuous period of 5 years will not be counted. There will be a break. Clear? Any doubt? Clear till now? Any doubt till now? Whatever we have discussed? See, if he is not a senior accountant, senior professional accountant, so there's a query. How Section 260 is applicable to them if he is not a senior professional accountant? If he is not a senior professional accountant, in that case, these three conditions responding to the non-compliance will not be applicable to him. But till Section 260 is applicable. I'll also write it here. And limited to professional accountants. Applicability is limited to professional accountants means, I'll explain over here. For professional accountants in service not being senior professional accountants. Okay. So they are required to report non-compliance to the protocols and policies, or you can say procedures or mechanisms available in the organization in timely manner. So these are the two conditions which are applicable to them. If they are not a senior professional accountant, so the condition is applicable. They are required to report through the protocols, policies, procedure, or mechanism available in the organization. For example, whistleblower. For example, ethics helpline. For example, any reporting mechanism which is there in the organization in a timely manner. No need to follow these three steps. That is, understand the matter, address the matter, determine further action. If you are not a senior professional accountant, these three steps are not applicable to you. Any doubt? Very good question. Very good question. What is in timely manner? What do we mean by in timely manner? Okay. So is there any timely manner or any definition given? Answer is no. That is subjective. So if I talk about 30 days, 20 days, 10 days, 5 days, there is no straightforward answer for that, for timely manner. Because it depends upon the matter, it depends upon the complexity. A lot of things are there. Okay. So what is timely manner will differ from case to case. Saying 30 days can be too much for a particular non-compliance, which is a straightforward, can be very less for a very complex non-compliance. And from where to count that date, from where to start? Okay, I will start from date when I identify a non-compliance. But at times you identify the non-compliance in bits and pieces. You received one information now, you receive second information later, you receive third information day after tomorrow, or something like that after 10 days. And after receiving the third information, when you collate all the information, you come to know, oh, there is a non-compliance. So what is timely manner? It is very, very subjective, very subjective. So the question is, okay, my question was like, how come it is applicable to him? It is requirement of section 260, it is applicable to him. So section 260 says, in a limited way, it is applicable to professional accountant, full-fledgedly applicable to senior professional accountant. Any other doubt, guys? No, perfectly fine. Don't worry on that. Any doubt? Thank you, Jimmy. Thank you very much. Any doubt, guys? Any doubt? Nope. Okay. If no further doubt, then I propose to keep it till here for this current lecture. After the lecture, please prepare your notes if you are not prepared. Your own notes, because those will help you to revise the topic before the day of exam. So quick revision is very important. So that's why start preparing for the quick revision from day one. Prepare your notes in such a way that it should help you in revising. And when you will prepare your own notes, what will happen is you will remember that, okay, I have written this thing, this was in the lecture, or you start to remember things. And that is very important. Okay. So when you will write your own notes, you will remember the things and it will help you in quick revision. So please prepare the notes either with the lecture, after the lecture, but do prepare it. Okay. And for the next lecture, be prepared, at least have a reading of the, upcoming topics. You can go through the module of chapter 19. What are the next topics that we will discuss in the sequence? And then, it will be very easy for you to ask the questions. or doubt if you have. Okay. So thank you guys. Thank you for participating in today's session. I'll see you in the next section. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes. Thank you. Good night.